I have a book, like a 1,000,000-page book on tape. I've been listening. Book on tape, that's not a thing, but like an audiobook that I've been listening to.
I know what you mean, Danielle. I was there for the book. I was there when the books were still on tape.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Book Retorts, the Winter Bazaar.
Woo, snow.
This is the podcast where one of us shares a weird piece of media with the other who doesn't know what we're talking about.
That's me.
You are Danielle and I am Sam. See how I did that? I took that away from you. Yeah.
I would have gotten there if you'd said I'm Sam.
I would have, but I decided to do it a little differently, Dan. I gave you a present of not letting you say your name.
I appreciate that. I do just like saying my name.
See, I know you so well.
I
it's weird.
say it so fast normally, and Sam won't let me say it fast, so I have to say it slow on the podcast.
Look, we have to enunciate for the podcast. I'm also a fast talker. It's a real problem, as you've probably noticed from listening to this podcast.
It doesn't stop people from listening. It's fine.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Danielle, I'm so excited to give our Winter Bazaar the kickoff here, where we share holiday, winter-themed media. Just because, hey, we can. We're doing a little pause from Hyperion, but we'll be back in the new year with it, so gear up for that.
Back and better than ever.
In the meantime, I've had this on my list to do for at least a year, so I'm very excited to do this piece of media for you, Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
It is the 2019 movie, A Karate Christmas Miracle.
You're in luck. I have not seen it.
I could have guessed that.
You never know. I've seen a lot of holiday movies.
I know. We were trying to do Hot Frosty, but both of us jumped on that bandwagon real quick.
Yeah. You know what? I work with a lot of people who watched it.
And I just like fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great movie for fun, sort of.
Anyway. Well, this is not the Hot Frosty cast, unfortunately.
And we could have a breakdown of that instead. It'd probably be quicker.
Oh, boy. So, A Karate Christmas Miracle is an independent movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to preface it right now. I'm not going to, rag on it for having a low budget or, mediocre acting or any of that kind of stuff, because it's an indie movie. Cut them slack. I just appreciate that the people are trying and are enjoying it. What I am going to talk about in this movie is the absolute insanity that happens inside of it in terms of the story and the characters. So
I'm looking forward to that.
I also, Danielle, because of that, I cannot give you a summary. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I do that to you a lot.
There's no summary that would not absolutely ruin this movie. So instead, Danielle, I want you to tell me what you would think a movie called A Karate Christmas Miracle is about.
What genre of film is this?
That's not important.
It could be because
it's a Christmas movie, Danielle. That's all you need to know.
What was it called? A Karate Christmas movie?
Miracle.
Somebody comes from a big city into a small town to save a local karate shop.
Dojo. good karate shop. Love it. You've seen Cobra Kai.
I even took karate.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad Danielle, no biscuit.
Well, you took it when you were like, what, 10? Something like that?
That sounds accurate.
Yeah,
sure.
Everyone took karate when they were like 8 or 10. There's a certain demographic in the United States where if everyone took karate for like 3 weeks before you gave up and realized it wasn't cool.
I did longer than 3 weeks, but I did not get that far. But I did take karate. To be fair, it was in a gym. I would argue it was not really like a dojo. So
okay, it wasn't a dojo.
So they have to save it. There's a Christmas Eve deadline. There's a romance involved. There's sassy children.
Yep.
Learning stuff, karate stuff.
Yeah. Karate and the life lessons.
There's also a what year was this movie? 2019.
Yeah, so pretty recent.
No,
by
it
our
doesn't
standards.
matter. There's still like an 80s style, bully that's like. Against the kids that they have to show who's boss, but in a positive way. It's basically
a Christmas Karate Kid is what you're talking about.
Yes. That would have been quicker.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. This is so far from that, I can't even explain it to you.
I love that. Is there a magical whirlpool?
If there was a magic whirlpool, that would make more sense. I went into this movie cold. I just saw the name, like, Karate Christmas Miracle. Yes. Sign me up. You've got me, movie. It's a winner. I remember when I was a kid, I don't know if you have the experience, but we watched movies like Three Ninjas or Little Ninjas, which were like the direct-to-VHS. Not great movies, but they were, cool kids doing cool stuff, right? So I thought this was going to be like a version of that, but Christmas-themed, because of course it would be.
Right.
I was not prepared for the world of insanity I was thrust into, Danielle.
Love that for us.
And unfortunately, a lot of the dialogue and scenes in this movie are so bizarre, and the only way to explain them is basically to transcribe them verbatim, which is why my notes are so long, and I'm sorry in advance.
Sorry, everybody. This is a extra bonus holiday episode.
I mean, we might go quickly through this because, again, most of it's just verbatim quoting, but this might be an extra large holiday bonus episode. Get ready for a stocking stuffer.
Let's do it.
Just one more thing before we get started, though. I do want to make a quick trigger warning. This movie does deal with a mass shooting in a theater, so if that is something that you would find upsetting, probably skip this one. So we open with the Carol of the Bells because it's probably one of the... Yeah.
Classic for a reason.
I'm going to get hate for this, but I think there's only 2 good Christmas carols, maybe 3, and this is one of them, so. I
strongly disagree. However, Carol of the Bells is a great Christmas song.
And mostly because it's not originally Christmas music.
I like all the, dissonant ones that don't. Yeah. That sound a little, dark, Evil Christmas.
Yeah, I do like Evil Christmas, Dan. You got me there.
Which is why you like Carol of the Bells.
Yeah, exactly. If you had a song called Evil Christmas, I'd be on board. Also, didn't the Trans-Siberian Orchestra Metallica record a version of it? That's pretty cool.
It's cool.
All right. Anyway, Carol of the Bells opens. Hype is at an all-time high. I'm like, yes, we're into it. It's just static shots of Christmassy things, lights, trees, that kind of stuff. And the production logos come up. And the main production logo is called Justice for All Productions.
Okay. As karate should be.
I don't know. This is promising a lot, this movie. I'm not sure it has the ability to deliver. So then we have a drone shot over a neighborhood, like a typical suburb, and zooms in on this very nice, large-looking house. Inside, a young woman is setting a table and calling out, "Jesse, dinner's ready!" But Jesse is ignoring her because he's listing things like the last 10 presidents in order while wearing a red gi.
Sure.
He's doing this in front of a photo of his obviously dead father. At least I'm guessing, based on the fact that this is a Christmas movie.
There's always a dead parent.
Right. So when it gets to Richard Nixon, his mom, the young woman, says, "Hey, Richard Nixon was impeached," as if that makes him less of being a president. Like he had not been a president.
It doesn't count if he was impeached.
Yeah, he was impeached and was no longer president. And the kid exasperatedly says, "No, he wasn't, Mom. He resigned. But no, you little smart aleck. He was impeached. He just wasn't convicted in the Senate. So there."
Yeah, but the mom wasn't smart enough for that.
Well, the kid wasn't either. He was definitely impeached. He resigned before he was convicted, which is a whole separate process. And also, he listed both Trump and Clinton, who were also impeached, and the mom didn't say anything about them, so here we are. Anyway, off to a great start in this movie already.
Sam's already mad about it. He's only 2 sentences
I'm not mad.
in.
I'm just like, guys, put in the smallest amount of effort, like Wikipedia impeachment or something. I don't know. So Jesse finishes listing the presidents, then goes to a large piece of paper taped to the wall that says, "Jesse's 12 Days of Christmas," and crosses out the 5th day that says, "Name 20 countries of Europe and list last 10 presidents in order."
Is this kid just trying to know stuff?
Period. Teach self to be a karate black belt.
Perfect.
Spoiler, every other item on the list just says that. Teach self to be a karate black belt over and over again.
So what was the point of all the other ones?
I don't know.
Does it play into their personality at all? Or they...
So his mom asked, what are you doing? Because clearly she hasn't been paying attention for the last 5 days of him doing this. Mm-hmm. And Jesse says that last year, his dad said that if he did everything on that list, he'd get everything he asked for Christmas. And Jesse says all he wants for Christmas is for his dad to come home. So maybe the dad isn't dead? Maybe they're divorced or something? I'm still trying to figure it out at this point.
Do we find out? This is just a mystery.
Do we find out?
Is he a karate master, the dad?
So his mom says they've talked about this, but Daddy's gone. He's not coming home. Jesse is all, he's not gone. He's just not here. And I know if I do everything on that list, he'll come home.
That'd be really traumatic.
Right? but also like, he's not gone, he's just not here. Doesn't seem to make any sense.
Magic.
Kid logic. And the mom just hugs him saying she wishes he was right. I still don't know if the dad is dead.
Does the mom seem upset about the dad being gone or like angry about it?
Yes, she is very upset about it. She's very sad.
Interesting.
So she tries to drag him to dinner, but he complains that dad is a better cook. And also, he lost a tooth. The mom says, you lost a tooth from karate? And Jesse says, no, I'm 10. It just fell out. And this might be my ignorance, but do people still lose teeth at 10? Are you like, I thought you were done by like 8.
I definitely was still losing teeth at 10, but I had teeth fall out very late and grow in very late. So I am not on the normal spectrum of children.
Okay. Again, it was so long ago. I have no idea when my last tooth fell, so maybe that's normal.
My molars, like, were still growing in like a year or two ago, so.
All right, Danielle, your weird mouth aside.
I have very good teeth, thank you. It's like the one part of my body that's hanging in there. You go, teeth.
Well, you have very good teeth because they never grow and you never use them.
No, I never use my teeth. Chewing is not even an option.
No, you just swallow whole like an eel.
Oranges are a little hard, but not that bad.
This is 3 minutes into this movie, Danielle. I'm losing my mind.
You can do it. I have faith in you.
So we cut to later. Undetermined. Jesse is at karate practice. Yep, movie time. Just here's another scene. The movie does that a lot. It just cuts to different scenes. Like, you can figure out what time it is, or if it's later or whatever. Jesse's at karate practice or something. It's just him and like one other kid and the instructor who looks to be like 13 in a giant gym. Mm-hmm. And the mom sitting there on a bench and no one else. Like, it's clearly just like, why is this one kid wailing on this other kid and the guy's just watching?
Do they just not have a cast? Like an amount of money
for
the
yeah,
cast?
Absolutely that. But it's still very funny to imagine this kid just has like a private karate lesson with one other person. We hear the mom say, no, I'm not a psychologist, but I do know people's minds. I need to in order to get the results that I do. And my thought is, she's a serial killer, right?
Oh yeah, what does she do?
Again,
does she sell real estate?
No.
Do we ever find out?
Oh, yes, very much so. But they like to keep it a little bit of a mystery. So it turns out she's on the phone. Clearly the person on the other end is not listening to her because she's all like, hey, I doubt you would succeed with that kind of campaign. And that's not in the holiday spirit. The campaign is apparently throwing ice balls at kids eating their competitors' candy. So she's like a marketing person and she's trying to dissuade her client from having a campaign to throw ice balls at children.
That was on my list. I would have gotten to marketing eventually.
Yeah, it's an obvious one, but also that's bonkers. What kind of marketing campaign is, hey, let's just like hire a bunch of people to throw ice balls at children who eat our competitors' candy? That'll get people to buy our stuff?
I mean, it would certainly probably do something.
Like, how would this work? Would you like advertise to children, be like, hey, if you see someone eating our competitors' candy, throw an ice ball at them, or you hire people to do that? Like, I want to know how this works. I want to know more about this marketing campaign than anything else I've seen in the movie so far.
I'm sure you could hire enough people.
The mom's like, no ice balls, and she promises a winning marketing plan, but has to go. So then Jesse runs up and is all, I'm done. And the mom says, the teacher, the sensei, where is he? And Jesse condescendingly says, she, my sensei is a woman. And the mom says, no, I hadn't noticed. And Jesse rolls his eyes and says, I know.
Is this mom terrible?
Sort of.
Just curious. They don't seem to be paying that much attention to their child.
Yeah. But Jesse says that she, the sensei, is not around. He told her he needs to go it alone, earn his black belt by Christmas Day alone.
That's not
He's 10.
Any of that works.
It isn't. And also, like, why was this scene he's like, oh, though I said it was a woman. We will never see this sensei. She makes not one mention or appearance more in this movie.
I like the idea that you're like, you have a 10-year-old who, one, is going for a black belt, which good job, I guess. But two, the sensei's like, there's nothing more I can teach you. You have to get this on your own, little 10-year-old. No.
The 10-year-old says that to the sensei. He's like, sensei, I know that I am but 10 and only like, I don't know, a yellow belt right now. And I have 7 days to earn like 8 belts or whatever. I don't know how karate works. I'm sorry. But I don't need your instruction anymore. I can do this on my own in 6 days or 7 days. As
per usual, we did no research for this podcast.
Danielle, this movie goes through every belt in detail, and we'll get to that. I did not pay attention. That's on me. The movie tried.
I have faith. It's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, anyway, so he's like, I got this, Tensei. I don't need you anymore. The mom seems as perplexed as I am about this. As they walk out, the screen does like a quick spin, like a weird zoom, like fisheye effect or something. And suddenly it's all fuzzy around the edges. Like this is a vision or a memory. We see a dark area. A young woman is watching a man behind a desk who's on a screen. The man is saying, people will think this is greed and hatred. It's not. Things need to be even. The woman looks terrified at the man on the screen, just like absolutely terrified at what she's seeing. This is clearly like a Saw thing or something. And the guy is rambling about how only those who come here tonight will see what it's like to be destroyed by someone you thought was exactly like you. Tonight, this town learns what it's like to be afraid.
So this guy's on like a video screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Is he like Mr. Potter or whatever that guy's name is from It's a Wonderful Life, who's like destroying the town?
Nope, not at all. We cut to a bunch of headlines flying past, like on like the classic newspaper, clippings flying past the screen saying, mass theater shooting survivor speaks. Attorney presumed dead.
That is very dark.
No trace of killer clown after theater shoot up. Owner only survivor in killer clown mass theater shooting. Local attorney kidnapped after Christmas mass shooting. And so is this what happened to the dad? He was kidnapped by a murderous clown?
We can only hope.
This movie's amazing.
But also, what a weird topic for a Christmas movie.
Danielle, you have no idea how weird this gets. This is only the beginning of this iceberg. So we've gone from kid needs to learn karate to get his dad back from being kidnapped by a murderous clown. So a good start, I say. They were off to a good start. So we cut to Jesse sleeping fitfully and calling out for his mom, who rushes in. Jesse explains his nightmare, which was all that we just saw was all Jesse dreaming that. The mom is surprised, since Jesse describes the theater where the dad disappeared, but Jesse has never been there.
Mysterious.
Later, after Jesse's asleep, Mom finally goes to inspect that list and finds all the newspaper clippings in the desk drawer where presumably Jesse had hidden them. My favorite thing about this, I knew I was going to say this a lot, but I gotta touch on this. Those newspaper clippings are clearly just like printed on regular office paper and cut out to look like newspaper clippings. It's so good. I love it.
Well, they weren't going to spend money on a prop.
No, it's great. I think it's so charming. I really love it. So like, yeah, I would do that. If I was making a movie, that's what I would do.
Maybe he went to the library and made photocopies of the newspapers in the library.
And then cut them out into the shape of a newspaper clipping.
I have a question. Why killer clown and why not like a killer Santa Claus to be more on point, or a killer elf?
I don't know.
Snowman. Anything Christmas or holiday winter related. There
is an explanation for why he was dressed as a killer clown. It does not clear anything up. All right. So we cut to later again. Presumably. I don't know.
Could be earlier.
It's day, so I'm presuming later. We're in a college lecture hall. The professor is this blonde woman passing out papers and saying she wants everyone to think Christmas because she has something for you little critters. She has this like very strong fake Southern accent. Mm-hmm. And then she's all, is critters one of them forbidden words? How about I call y'all my elves, or better my reindeer, but without the horn, because I don't like horns because they remind me of that devil guy and he ain't very Christmassy. Now you see why I had to record this verbatim, Danielle, because like there's no way I can summarize that any better than that is.
I like that this person is apparently concerned that she might be using a forbidden word, quote unquote, but is not concerned about bringing up Christmas, a religious holiday in a public education building.
I have no idea if this is a public school or a private school. It might be a private Christian college for all I know. Given what happens later,
but then she's probably not concerned about using the word term creatures then.
Critters. Please, Danielle.
Whatever.
Critters. Every sentence in this movie, every sense of dialogue is insane. I love it. Like, you really need to watch this movie. It is an experience of like, that is not what I expected that person to say right now. Like, if this wasn't before the AI chatbot boom, I would suspect this movie was written by AI.
Still possible. Maybe it was early AI.
I guess you could use like Markov chains or something, sure.
Sure.
Anyway, she tells them that they can answer her question correctly. They might get an extra 5 points on their essay as a Christmas present. So she says, You're all celebrating with your boss. You're in a bar. The boss is Santa because you're reindeer. And Santa's completely drunk, as are most of you reindeer. Just absolutely staggered down drunk.
Question. Why did she go with reindeer instead of elves, which would be at a bar?
Because she tried elves and she decided on reindeer but without the horns because the horn reminder of Satan.
Yeah, I call that. But also, logically,
Danielle,
if you're going with the this weird metaphor, I don't know, hypothetical situation thing.
Sure.
Like, why not go with the things that are actually humanoid that would be in a bar?
Because that'd be too easy.
I guess so. Anyway, reindeer drinking in a bar, Santa smashed.
You're all completely drunk, as are most of you in your reindeer. The college students are actually loving this. They're just giggling away she's talking to them, which, in my experience, is not how college students would react to someone doing this crazy scenario, but what do I know?
Been a long time since you've been in college. These are 2019 college students.
Yeah, but it's not been a long time since I've observed college students.
That's
Let me rephrase
accurate. In a non-creepy way.
I have instructed college students. Let's be clear about that. Okay, I don't have binoculars.
Maybe. I don't know what you do with your life.
Okay.
I've never seen you in action.
Thankfully.
Your whole life could be a lie. I have no idea.
It very well could be, Danielle.
Do we even live on the East Coast? Who knows?
No, I live in your basement.
You live in Florida now.
No, why? Still the East Coast, though, technically.
Ohio.
No, even worse. Sorry, Ohio.
We love you.
So, Danielle, I want you to do me a little thing here. What do you think this woman teaches? What subject?
Intro monkeys and apes. No.
What? Is that a class? What?
It is a class I took. It was great.
Was it like a evolutionary biology class?
Yeah, it was like a science 101 class.
That's amazing.
It was hard. It was impressively difficult.
All right, so that's a subject of biology, Dana. That's not a specific class. Like, what is her subject matter expertise that makes her a professor?
Psychology.
Man, that would make so much more sense.
Economics.
Okay, I just have to go through this, Danielle, because you're not going to guess. She points to one girl and says, you're Rudolph, and the red bulb on your nose explodes because you had a tequila shot that didn't agree with you.
That's not how that would work.
Nope. But apparently Rudolph's nose just exploded and he's dying, I guess.
Like, that's even crazier.
But the teacher goes on and says, like, the explosion causes some drunk guy to fall and starts a bar brawl with all these surfers and these greasers in the bar.
Okay.
But all of a sudden, Santa breaks a chair over some greaser's head, and she demonstrates this by slamming a New Jersey criminal code book on the desk. That's the hit for what she teaches, Danielle.
I should have known.
Yeah. Because the greaser was about to hit Rudolph with a whiskey bottle. She then asks, raise your hand if you think Santa is guilty of aggravated assault. And that is a long way to go for what is a fairly straightforward question.
But a more fun way to get there, Sam.
I'm not sure. So, half the kids put their hands up. She then asks for a show of hands if Santa committed a simple assault, and some more hands go up. She then says, who thinks Kris Kringle is guilty of reckless? But before she can finish her sentence, she is cut off by Jesse, still in his gi, who is bursting into the classroom, and it cuts in freaking Matlock and is pointing at her going, the answer is none of the above. It's a trick question.
It's this kid studying law on the side?
No.
And where did they come from? Why are they at school?
Great question. We will kind of get to that. And first off, dude, you didn't even let her finish listing all the options. How do you know it's none of the above? She might have gotten to one of them. But the teacher is delighted with this little precocious child bursting in. She's like, oh, are you Jesse? How do you know that? But Jesse says that Santa's innocent. He acted in defense of another. And I don't know if that's true. I'm not a lawyer, but sure, let's go with it. But she might have gotten to that if Jessie had let her finish her freaking sentence.
It's true.
We do that spinny cut thing, and we end up in the professor's office, who's talking to the mom and saying, so your husband's a lawyer, and your kid was fun interrupting my class and all, but why are you here?
Okay, so you're 10.
Yep.
Your dad's a lawyer.
Yep.
And you have somehow
absorbed.
You've sponged your 10 years of knowledge.
Yep.
Of law enough to answer law professor questions.
To be fair, Jesse could have been wrong. I don't know. Maybe they're both terrible, and the teacher doesn't know this either.
Listen, my parents do things that I could have learned as well, and not that I didn't learn anything, but I was not 10 going, I know all the things.
Yeah. I know how to appraise a house. Nope. Very funny. And so the mom, Abby, that's her name, we finally get her name here, asks, how'd you know my husband was a lawyer? And the professor says deductive reasoning based on Jesse's answer, which is like not where I would first go with that. Like, oh, my kid heard my class yelling the correct answer. He must have a father who's a lawyer.
Specifically. No other like thing in their entire life. It's just the father.
Also, like, why couldn't the mom have been a lawyer? We still don't know what she does, really. And then the mom asks, how did she know Jesse's name? Oh, actually, what? That was my question. Sorry.
I was like, great question.
That is my question. The mom then asked that same question later. I forgot. We'll get to that. So the professor is all, well, it was very nice to meet you, but I'm sure you need to go. But Abby then asks how she knew Jesse's name. So we're on the same wavelength, which stumps the professor. She's like, it's a very common name kind of thing.
Is it?
And then the professor asks why Jesse was sent to interrupt her class, but it's not here in the office. Like, why do you send him to the class, but not bring him into the office? It's just, I guess he's just sitting outside the office now for some reason. And the mom answers by telling a story. The mom tells a story about how when she was like 16, she went to a psychic fair. Psychic fairs, those exist, I guess.
They do.
And got a reading. The psychic said she'd get married and have one son, and that her husband would go on a journey that'd be of a major concern to her.
Journey
and
with
refused
clowns.
to say more. Yeah. And then she leans in and says to the professor, and do you know who that psychic was? It's you, Cookie Law Professor.
Ah, plot twist.
Yes.
So they just showed up at the school to talk to Professor Psychic Law?
Yes. I call her Professor Psychic from now on. Yes. Or PP for short. The professor is very upset and angry and all like, I don't remember you. No one here knows about my past or my psychic stuff. And how'd you even find me? And Abby just says, everyone in my profession says I'm very resourceful. Which, like, that's not an answer.
She should have said I talked to a psychic.
That would have been much funny. Psychic finds psychic. Psychic versus psychic. Today on Sci-Fi Channel. I guess that'd be more TLC.
Has that ever been a show? Because I really feel like Psychic versus Psychic would be pretty good.
I would watch Psychic versus Psychic. Danielle. You know my feelings on psychics.
That's why it would be fun.
It'd be amazing. But that's all the answer we get, that somehow she tracked down this one anonymous psychic she talked to when she was 16 who happened to live in the same town as she does now as a law professor at this college.
Yeah, sure. 100% believe this.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
And I guess she sent Jesse ahead to, like, interrupt class.
For dramatic effect. And she knew that he would, like, correctly interrupt with the question and impress the psychic professor.
How was he even listening to her?
It doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make sense. He missed the whole setup about him being, like, them all being reindeer, I'm sure. Oh, and also, Jesse wears nothing but a gi in this whole movie. It's funny as heck, no matter where they are.
That's because it's a karate Christmas miracle, Sam.
And it's an orange gi. He looks like he's wearing like an astronaut, like a spacesuit. It's very good.
That's the only color they had in this prop closet.
Probably.
They're like, we have one of these. And no other clothes.
So Abby is very smug after the psychic says, oh yes, you're in marketing. And Abby's like very smug. Aha, you knew it. I know you're psychic. And the psychic says she used to help the police to find missing people, but all she found were dead bodies. And she doesn't want to see dead bodies anymore in her visions. So she paid her way through law school by doing psychic fairs. But it's time for you to leave since I'm done with that. And I wanted to do something happy with kids. And I saw myself in a classroom. So that's why I'm here teaching instead of being a psychic detective.
Sure.
Great.
I think we should follow her. She sounds more interesting.
I mean, this is one of those movies that, like, all the backstories for all the characters are way more interesting than the plot we actually get. It's very Hyperion in that way, actually.
We do love a good Hyperion reference.
We can't get away from it. It's everywhere. So Abby insists she tell her if her husband is alive or dead, and the psychic says she can't. Abby just thinks she can because the fact that she's having psychic nightmares. And oh yeah, Abby's son is also having nightmares, and they're having the same nightmares. Did Abby know that? And I guess Abby didn't. But then Abby brings out the newspaper clippings, and the psychic is all, oh, that's why I'm sensing clowns. And I'm so sorry for you and your son, but I can't help you. Are you okay, Danielle?
I am okay. There's just a lot going on. And I feel like this psychic is like more psychic than anybody's ever psychic before.
She's extremely psychic. And the fact that she's like, oh yeah, that's why I'm sensing clowns, because they kidnapped her husband, is amazing.
But I absolutely refuse to help you, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So Abby keeps pushing. And then she puts her husband's like little flip knife, like a pocket knife type thing, on the table. And apparently this is the knife that the police found when Bob, her husband, disappeared. The psychic already knows the whole story and says, he pulls the knife out, was use it in self-defense. Karate. I don't know.
So wait, it's the husband's knife. It was used in a criminal case, but they got it back?
So it was found at the scene where he disappeared, and the police just sort of gave it to the mom, I guess.
That's what I mean. That's like, it's not in some kind of locker somewhere in a case file.
Nope.
Shenanigans.
And it's all like, he used it in self-defense. Also, karate is coming to my mind. I don't know.
He used that in self-defense too. Probably. Maybe.
So Abby spills the beans on the black belt by Christmas goal that her son has. In fact, that he thinks it'll bring his father back. And the professor is all like, yeah, that might work.
Do we ever see this professor again?
Danielle, we see so much of this professor.
Okay.
Abby is flummoxed. The professor insists that she can help. Abby then slams her business card on the table with her home address on it so that you can return the knife, and leaves, leaving her husband's knife on the table.
I was kind of wondering if the psychic was like that dude from the purple spinny movie with the kangaroos. The kangaroo movie.
Warriors of Virtue.
Yeah,
purple spinny movie. What part of it is purple?
It's on the cover of the movie.
The poster is purple. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, it's my only reference to that movie visually. So.
You could watch it. I have it available to you.
It's been on my list. Anyway, I will eventually watch it. Maybe during the holidays. Sounds like a holiday movie.
You should watch this movie if you're going to watch a holiday movie. It's great.
I don't even remember what I was going to say. You made me forget what I was saying.
I think you're going to ask me. I know where you're going with this. Is she like the guy who gives the kid the book?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
No.
I got sidetracked by the kangaroos. Like that just disappears. That's what I was wondering.
No, she is extremely prominent.
That's good, I suppose.
So we cut to Abby setting the table. Jesse plops an unpainted birdhouse on the table and says, we can paint that later, just like Dad and I used to, and then walks off. End of scene.
Dad and I used to paint the birdhouses later?
So his dad had a Christmas tradition of painting a birdhouse, I guess.
Got it. Sort of.
I don't know. Anyway, cut to Jesse having nightmares again. It's that crazy guy on the screen of a movie theater saying, we will haunt these victims, haunt their minds and dreams, and our victims won't hate us. They'll become us. And there are several confused people standing in front of the screen. We spent a lot of time on these visions, Danielle. Yeah. You might think they go somewhere.
Was the earlier one a vision too then?
These are all Jesse's dreams / psychic visions from the psychic lady.
You say they don't go anywhere? That'd be crazy.
We'll see. Maybe you can help me figure that out, Danielle.
I just like why can't I remember any title to anything today?
This is a
terrible game we played that one time.
Partial Recall. You can't remember the name of the game we played called Partial Recall.
No, I was thinking, didn't we do one that was like title specific and I couldn't remember the titles of anything or something?
Oh, I know. That was one where I gave you reviews. You need to figure out what movie the review belonged to.
And I couldn't remember the titles of anything. So this is the exact same problem. So this is like that one of our first epics, the one with the boats that were in the sky.
Lords of the Sky.
Lords of the Sky. See, I was close.
Very good.
What do you want from me? It was 3-4 years ago. Lords of the Sky, where he had all the dreams, but they didn't actually mean anything nor go anywhere. The dream
where he went to the forest and there's no. I don't know, Danielle. I'm just going to put that out there right now.
I just like to assume all visions and dreams are really just Lord of the Sky because that was fabulous.
It was so crazy. All right. So now we cut to Jesse's dad in that same theater. He's addressing a crowd of people sitting there saying, there's no constitutional issue here. People are allowed to carry guns, but only in very specific circumstances. And now the theater's also set up like a courtroom, I guess.
This is all part of his vision?
It's all part of the dream.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a message here. I'm not going to unpick it. I don't care. Jesse's mom hears him screaming and wakes him up. Jesse insists his dad is alive and needs to get that black belt.
He's holding court in a movie theater.
In a movie theater.
We have to find him.
And Jesse has already made it from yellow to blue belt in the last day, I guess.
testing him since he decided to go it alone.
Danielle, boy, we'll get to that maybe.
Real questions.
Yeah, I have no idea. I know anything about karate. Someone who actually knows anything about karate, and even our, Western appropriation of karate, which this is clearly based on. Can you get I don't know how many belts it is, 8 belts or 5 belts, however many belts it is in 6 days? Is that possible?
It feels unlikely, but what do I know?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Abby is impressed Jesse knows about that constitutional argument the dad made somewhere. She can't explain why he knows that, so clearly he's a little psychic too.
Ooh. Well, this must be how he knew to interrupt
the classroom,
Psychic's class, yeah.
So we cut to Abby on the phone arguing that Gravy speaks Christmas, and why are we wasting time on this marketing pitch C story? She's having coffee with a friend who's just sort of waiting for her to finish, failing at another miserable marketing pitch, but somehow this Gravy Christmas pitch, 6 days before Christmas, minimum, it's probably more like 4 or 5 now. And they're like, yeah, we'll start on this Christmas Gravy marketing campaign and get that out to the TV in 3 days, no problem. Are they planning this for next year? I don't understand anything about this movie. The time of this movie makes no sense. So Abby hangs up and then starts talking to the lady, who I guess was a neighbor of theirs who's now going to grad school and was looking after Jesse for Abby. Abby's hiring her to babysit Jesse, pick him up and take him to karate and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So Abby is clearly a workaholic, which is the theme for this movie, or at least her character arc.
I feel like most of the parents in most movies are.
Yeah, because that's the whole, you gotta have a message.
Yeah, and you gotta be able to, have the kid be able to have an absurd amount of free time.
Exactly. And she's missed out on a lot of things Jesse did with his father. She tells the babysitter, Sarah, about the dreams and Jesse's obsession with becoming a black belt. And Sarah's like, and he thinks if he gets a black belt, it'll bring his father back? And Abby is all, how did you know that? And Sarah's also psychic, Danielle. No, I'm kidding. Psychic? She's not psychic. I'm kidding. No, Sarah replies, I studied child behavior and psychology. It's a coping mechanism.
No. Which,
absolutely insane guess. Not a chance. No textbook in the world has that as it has get black belt by Christmas, get father back in there. Oh, absolutely insane. And then she asks him, well, what did the grief counselor say about all this? And Abby admits she never took him to a grief counselor.
Why are all the parents so bad?
Yeah, and I'm and I literally have all caps, why does no one get therapy in our media?
It's so bad. And this is 2019. There was no excuse. Some of our media is older, where it was frowned upon. The 2019, we were already into the therapy era.
It gets worse. Abby insists that, no, Jesse's fine. He's strong. I'm strong. We don't need therapy.
That's even terribler.
And she's like, yeah, it's we don't need it because we're strong. I'm that's not how that works at all. That's still those archaic ideas of therapy. And Sarah's all you're right. I shouldn't have said anything. And this mom sucks.
I'm mad about it.
I'm so angry.
Also, that mom can't be old enough to have those ideals.
I know. Well, the writer of this movie clearly is. So we cut to karate class with that same kid and the instructor. They scuffle a bit and Jesse pins him and he gets a pin. Do you pin people in karate? Is that how it works?
I never got that far in karate. I was only in it a year or something. But
yeah,
is this the instructor is not the sensei? Is this the 13-year-old or whatever?
Yeah, it's the 15-year-old referee instructor person who's just refereeing the match.
It feels like the sensei's just farming out their job.
Well, no, because Jesse rejected the sensei. He's I can do this alone. So
I'm going to do this alone with my other 13-year-old teacher.
Maybe he's 50. I don't know. But so they scuffle a bit. He pins the kid. I guess that's all it takes to earn a new belt. Cut to Abby pitching applesauce marketing to someone when she gets a call from Bob on her phone. The name Bob pops up on her phone to her husband. She picks up demanding, who are you? How'd you get this number? How'd you find this phone?
Is there clown music in the background?
I wished.
Creepy, distant music.
This movie doesn't do that thing where you can hear the other person on the other line. It only just gives you one side of the conversation for every phone call.
That's a lot easier to film.
Exactly. But also, way funnier to imagine cloud music in the background.
I like one-sided phone conversations because the other person has to make it very specific what they're talking about.
Exactly. It's kind of the R2-D2 C3PO stuff.
Yeah. No, John, I won't be at the market this evening.
So we cut to Professor Psychic teaching about the Grinch and how he had a change of heart in her law class.
We didn't, I mean, that's a good law thing, but we didn't
She's not
hear
done.
out anything else about the clown call yet.
No, the last thing we hear is Abby say, "How'd you find this phone?" Cut to law professor talking about the Grinch.
You should definitely make an edit for has clown music.
You're all right. We'll get right on that. So the professor frames it as the Grinch turns himself in, confessing to grand larceny and brings all the evidence with him, but no charges have been filed against him. What is the responsibility of the prosecutor?
I appreciate her holiday-themed classes.
But she sucks as a teacher. That's not how you teach law, but just asking random fictional scenarios how they would play out in a law school.
Well, maybe they've already talked about all the, like, specifics, and now this is like, here are some hypothetical situations.
Okay,
and
maybe.
she's trying to
Fine.
make them fun for, like, the holiday season.
Well, in the middle of her lecture, she sees Bob's knife on the table because she brought it with her to her lecture, I guess.
As one does, and then puts it on their table.
Yeah.
Not in their purse or their pocket or anything else.
It's insane. Yeah.
Just in case Jesse runs back in and says, none of the above.
She's like, I'll stab you, kid, get out of my classroom. Now you know why I have 12 pages of notes. So she sees this knife, and then she has a vision of a clown with a gun accosting Bob. Then she's like, dismisses class, but there's only one person in the whole lecture hall. So it's just like one person is there. And she's like, what's going on here? Why is she lecturing about the Grinch to one person in the lecture hall?
Has ever a class only had one person in it?
Oh,
in the history of ever?
Not in a movie, but also just like 3 days before Christmas, I guess. And she's still lecturing. When is the finals week for this semester? I don't know how this works.
I had a class once that was so boring that it went from like 150 students, I think was the capacity of that room, to 12 people one day.
That's impressive.
It was very impressive, and I was sadly one of those 12.
You stuck it out.
I know. I am one of those people who
I know.
should go to class.
You stick things out. You're dedicated. I know. You're also a bit of a teacher's pet.
I was going to pass that stupid history class.
Yep, I gotcha.
And I did.
I have no doubt about that, Danielle.
He once launched into like the history of some kind of cheese, to be fair. I thought it was a little funny.
I'm sorry, Danielle. Your cheese story, that was very boring. I'm sure it's great.
That was it. That was the story. You're welcome to cut all that, Sam. I just felt the need to tell you about the cheese story.
No, it's all going in, Danielle. People need to know. Anyway, so we cut to Abby at a restaurant that's set up like a soup kitchen, and she's looking for someone. And the person behind the counter is like, "Oh, are you here to help?" And she's like, "Oh, no, I'm not here to do soup." But then 2 people come in, like clearly 2 very middle class women, like a woman and her daughter, who are dressed exactly the same as Abby, and are clearly just like, I don't know, the director's wife and daughter or something. Or like they come in and stand by the soup kitchen counter, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I'll pour these 2 bowls of soup." And that's the only people who ever come into the soup kitchen. So after she helps serving these 2 people, we cut to Sarah with Jesse at home, impressed by his president naming shtick, but she really wants to know if he will paint that birdhouse, which Jesse insists he will, with his dad when he comes home, since his mom is too busy.
At the fake soup kitchen.
So back at the soup kitchen, Abby asks the man behind the counter if he's Jay, and he, offended, asks, "Do I look like a Jay?" Like,
okay, sorry,
dude,
I asked.
How should she know? That's why she asked. This conversation goes on forever with him saying, Jay, with her saying, "Jay is a pretty common name." And the dude going, "Jay is a letter of the alphabet. I don't think I look like a letter. It's also a bird, like a blue jay, and I'm not blue. Do I look blue to you?"
Gosh.
Everyone in this movie is an alien. They all talk and talk to each other like aliens. It's insane. So Abby's all like, "I'm just looking for the owner of this restaurant, Jay." And the dude starts lecturing her on, "If you haven't noticed, this place is set up for feed people less fortunate. And Jay sold me this place over a year ago." And like, what does that have to do with anything? You could just say he's not there. And Abby's all like, "Sorry, Jay told me to meet him here. I'll go." And the guy goes, "Hold up, babe. I was just messing around. Yo, Jay, there's someone here to see you." And why is this scene? Why did that happen? Do we ever see any of these people ever again in this movie? No.
Perfect.
Why is this a scene of this movie? So Jay comes out, and Jay is all, "You're Bob's wife. Here's Bob's phone. One of the regulars found it under a booth. I don't know how long it's been there, because Bob has been missing for a year. He was kidnapped on Christmas Day last year."
So
that's when the whole incident went down.
Like they just found the phone recently?
Yeah, he just found the phone recently under a booth, even though Bob's been missing for a year.
Have they not cleaned in the last?
That was my first, like, do they not clean this restaurant?
Deeply concerning. I would not eat in this restaurant.
Yes.
You haven't swept under any of the booths?
So Jay explains that Bob used to do free legal work for them, and he was so generous. And Abby's like, what? He did? Because she clearly knows nothing about Bob.
She doesn't know anything about her child either. So, I mean, she's a terrible, apparently all-around wife and mother.
It's not great. It's not a good look for Abby. That's when Abby gets a call on her phone. It's Professor Psychic.
Yeah, we love Professor Psychic.
So close.
Psychic.
There you go.
Yeah, my tongue is tired.
Yeah, sure.
It's a literal thing that happens.
Yeah, okay, Danielle. Tell me how tired you are 3 hours behind me.
It's not my fault.
So, Professor Psychic is here to tell Abby the knife wasn't used in self-defense. And I'm like, I really hope Bob is the killer clown and disappeared after he made his move.
Oh, I love that idea that the dad is actually the, mass murderer.
Yeah. What a great twist. If this was like an M. Night Shyamalan movie or something, that would have happened. So we cut to Jesse practicing sweet karate moves in his living room.
Sweet.
He's like kicking and going, oh yeah, it's great. Sarah makes the mistake of asking what's the deal with all the belts. And then Jesse goes off on how they all start with white. That signifies the beginning or birth of a seed. And do you give birth to a seed, or are seeds the things that give birth? I have to know. Every line in this movie is like a code. I have to ponder and contemplate, trying to figure out what's being said.
I think there's an argument both ways, Sam.
I do. I think it's a very deep movie. So we cut to this animation, this, this effect they put over the screen of a bird surrounded by bubbles. As Jesse goes on, he goes through every belt. The yellow belt is sunlight, giving the seed new strength. Orange represents the growing power of the sun. I'm paraphrasing. He goes on for much longer. The green belt is the growth of the seed. And I'll stop there. But man, the dude who wrote this is way too into karate. Jesse stops at the purple belt, which takes the longest to get through. So I guess 3 hours in this movie, I guess.
What, 2 days instead of 1?
Right. So remember, he started at yellow belt in this movie, which was the second belt, the first one above white. Uh-huh. And he's going all the way up to black belt in 6 days.
I have faith in him.
And so Jesse's only up to purple, which is why he stops there. Because he's like, I don't know the other ones. I haven't gotten that far yet. Then we cut to Professor Psychic explaining the remaining belts are red, brown, and black. So she's in on the karate explanations too. And she's at the dojo with the mom, and then she explains what the colors of the belts represent, and what red and brown and black represent. I don't care. And Jesse isn't there with them. They're just a bunch of women wrestling, it looks like. Uh-huh. And so they just sort of wandered off the street to observe this random class of teens, which are clearly not paid extras, I guess. Abby wants to know why they're here, and Professor Psychic pulls out the knife and says, Bob wasn't even aware he had this knife on him. He didn't know he had it when he was, that night he disappeared. Bob apparently just left it in his pocket because he used to volunteer to teach a women's self-defense class right here, which is this very class. This is the class Bob used to teach.
No, back it up. So he has a knife for a self-defense class? Is he going to pretend he's going to stab people and they're women and they're going to that seems very dangerous. I have taken self-defense classes and none of them involved a knife at me.
Or if they're going to use a knife analog, use a stick or a wooden knife or a rubber one or a plastic one.
You're not using a switch knife that you're about stab people with. Not even in 2019, which probably was around the time I took my last self-defense class.
And apparently Bob was just so good at teaching self-defense, he could have people disarm him with a knife without hurting anybody.
Just nonsense.
So Abby is all how can I know so little about my husband? I didn't even know he taught self-defense classes here.
The concerning thing is not just that Abby doesn't know any of these things, but also that apparently the husband hasn't told her. Or maybe he has and she hasn't listened, which is a real possibility.
A recurring motif will be Psychic Lady saying, Bob wanted to tell you about this, but you were home late until he didn't. You were working until he didn't have a chance. But you saw each other you could have told her at different times. It's not like there's an expiration date when you can tell somebody something.
Yeah, was their marriage on the way out? Because it sounds like they were
no, they were super happy
therapy.
Together. They were, or at least Abby was super into Bob.
I have questions because it feels not correct. If they're not even telling each other, I work in a soup kitchen, I help a defense class,
Oh, Danielle, we're not even halfway through all the things Bob does that Abby doesn't know about.
It's concerning.
Very.
Bob's never home.
Well, apparently neither is Abby because she was at work. So, like, is Jesse on his own all the time?
Does Bob, like, what is he doing? Isn't he a lawyer? Like, does he
He's
have
a lawyer,
other
yeah.
lawyer things to be doing other than
Nope,
all?
apparently
like,
not.
Not only does he assumedly have, like, an 8 to 10 hour shift at his law firm, I would imagine, 5 days a week
or he's
at
like
least.
a public defender or something.
Like, he's working at least 8-hour days, 9-hour days, and then, like, he's out doing apparently 50,000 other things in town.
Giving free legal advice to a soup kitchen.
Yeah, like,
teaching
he has
self-defense.
so much free time on his hands with his wife not home.
Oh.
This poor child apparently was raised by 2 very absent parents.
Well, apparently Bob was super not absent, but I don't know how he could also be super present for... Did he just, like, bring Jesse with him to work and to all these places and Jesse never tells mom about them? I don't know.
So that's a possibility, I suppose.
This movie is bonkers. It's insane. That's why I love it so much. Anyway, Professor Psychic then drops a bomb that Bob was a black belt, and Abby is shook.
What's his face? Does Jesse know this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe? I don't know. It never comes up. But Abby's like, how did I not know he was a black belt? And I'm like, you didn't know this man at all. You just met a stranger and married him in 5 minutes.
How did Jesse end up in karate? Was it because his dad was interested in it?
Probably. Does that put him in it?
But
my guess.
Like, she didn't know that the dad was part of the karate world at all?
No.
How did she think her son got interested in karate? Questions.
Danielle.
I'm sorry.
She clearly is not
Carry
paying
on.
any attention.
You have too many pages for these questions. Carry on.
Danielle, I wish I had answers for these questions. The answer is just that she's a terrible mother, apparently. Then we cut to that creepy theater vision again. The dude on the screen rips off a clown mask, telling the people in the theater, which may just be the first woman again, to live, you attractive geniuses, and live large. This is not the same guy. It took me a minute to realize this is not the same man who's been in the other visions on the screen. It's a different man now. Because he introduces himself as Graham Palace, owner of the Palace Theater chain, including this one.
These things are like, these videos are very abstract.
These visions are super, like, David Lynchian. And it is completely tonally disjointed with this, like, mother who works too hard Christmas redemption story. Mm-hmm. And next you have this serial killer, Saw-esque, mass shooting, psychic vision, creepy vision thing, like David Lynch thing. It's so strange. They just mash it up.
Are they still on, like, a screen? Like a video screen?
Yeah, he's on the movie theater screen now.
Okay. Wild, man.
So Graham is explaining that it's his daughter, Aurora's birthday, which might be who that woman is, I'm guessing.
Uh-huh.
And he's asking everyone in the empty theater to wish her a happy birthday. He's like, oh, you can do better than that. After, like, there's no one who says anything, and the woman looks like, oh, you shouldn't have. As a birthday present, he gives her the theater and goes off about how, you clowns, you two-faced hags, she's got big plans for this place. But remember, Aurora, I will be watching you.
Who's he calling clowns?
The empty theater crowd.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. The non-present audience. He's like, remember, Aurora, I love you, but I will be watching you. And as he says that last part, he puts on the clown mask again. Yeah, he puts it back on. Mm-hmm. Except, like, the blue screen work in the movie is kind of hilarious because all the blue parts of the clown makeup are all see-through. You can see the background through them because, blue screens are hard. Which kind of ruins the creepiness a little bit.
They tried their best.
But honestly, I'm a little scared. It would not surprise me if a serial killer wrote this movie. There's a burst of static and a series of older people say, one after the other, tell your mother. Then you must remain silent until Christmas Day. That's the day you'll earn your black belt.
Tell your mother what?
Good question, Danielle. Cut to Jesse waking up from the dream. Abby's there comforting him, and Jesse tells her that Aurora, the owner of the theater, was very close to her father, who gave her the theater, and on the day of the shooting, no less, which was also Aurora's birthday, and also Christmas at the same time. So it was all those things.
So his dad was somehow involved with this Aurora lady.
At the theater. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So on that Christmas Day killing, she was the only one to survive, because she was now the owner of the theater, and only the owner survived, so we got that little hint earlier. And it was also her dad's birthday, too. Apparently, like, she and her dad had the same birthday, and Jesse is all, my dad is a Christmas present for me, like the theater was for Aurora, but I have to earn my black belt, like Aurora had to earn the theater. And I'm like, did she earn the theater, or did her rich daddy just give it to her?
It sounds like her rich daddy just gave it to her.
And also, like,
but I don't know what preceded that.
And what an insane comparison to make, to like, oh, my dad's a Christmas present, like the theater was for Aurora. I'm like, what are you talking about? Then Jesse says he has a message for his mother. He must remain completely silent from now until Christmas Day and focus only on getting Dad back. Then he goes back to bed.
But that's not what the message said it all.
Apparently that was the message, Danielle. The message was, I gotta be quiet now. Bye.
No, wasn't the message just that you're supposed to tell the mom this stuff and then he needed to work towards his black belt? Because that was what you just told me.
That was the message, apparently, is that he needs to work towards his black belt in silence. For some reason, he has to take a vow of silence for the remainder of the movie.
Sure, why not? That'll make for an interesting film.
It does not. So cut to Abby out at night at a bar. Same day? Who knows? Drinking with Professor Psychic, who tells Abby that, Abby, you were too busy for your husband, who was trying to tell her about all these things, about being a black belt. But, she was never there, never had the chance. And that she's an average mother who needs to pay attention to her son more.
That's accurate. But also, so they're just leaving this 10-year-old alone a lot.
Yeah.
Who's having these supposedly possibly psychic visions or
Yep.
possibly just some kind of trauma response.
Sure.
Is dealing with the father's death poorly. And she's like, I'm not
Jesse's
going
not
home.
alone. I'll tell you right now, Jesse's not alone. We'll get to it.
Is the babysitter there?
Yeah, Sarah's there.
I still think the mom should be there.
I think so too, but Danielle, she's not a good mother.
Why are you letting this child trauma response with a babysitter?
Why didn't you get him a grief counselor? Get him therapy.
It's because the babysitter has a half degree in child psychology.
She's in graduate school. She just started grad school. Yeah.
So let's close it off, Sam.
Now, Professor Psychic, back to the bar here, Danielle.
Sorry.
Goes off about, she basically recounts Abby's life. It's like, she led a charmed life. She went to Yale. She had a pony as a kid and a lavish wedding and honeymoon, all paid for by her rich parents. Bob, on the other hand, had to pay his own way through law school, for instance, just like I did. This is the professor saying that. Mm-hmm. Working as a bouncer at a bar, tutoring, etc. So apparently, Bob is a saint. Nothing wrong with Bob, and Abby's a terrible woman. Everything about privilege and terrible about her.
That's good to know.
And then we have another burst of static, and we're back in the nightmare. The guy on the screen is holding a pistol, ranting about power and whatnot. And when we cut back, Professor Psychic is shook. She's having the same vision as Jesse. And when she tells Abby about him, she identifies the guy. It's a different guy on the screen again. We're back to the first guy, who is James, the murderous clown. Mm-hmm. Professor Psychic then asks why Bob was at the theater anyway. Apparently, she's not psychic enough to figure that out.
He was probably helping with some kind of law thing for free.
Kind of. Bob was there to do a, lecture on guns and constitutional rights at a movie theater.
Was it in conjunction with a film?
No.
They were just using the space for chairs?
It's weirder than that, Danielle. It's weirder than that. Aurora was holding a threefold event with talks first, then a massive party with the guys dressed as clowns and the women in their own garish makeup, and then a third part that I don't remember because I don't think we got that far. But apparently they invited the dad, Bob, to do a talk on guns before this birthday party that she was having.
That's a choice.
Let that sink in. The silence, Danielle, is very heavy from you.
You can cut this if you want to, but I was just contemplating, it might be a little too real, if they chose the name Aurora because of the 2012 shooting in the movie theater.
Oh, Danielle, I really hope this movie isn't that tactless.
It's an odd choice of a name, and I was I'm like, that's kind of bad. Which is an insane concept, by the way, for a Christmas movie.
A Christmas movie? Yeah. This is why this movie is... Remember your description that made it was all about joy and learning? And, no. So, you might be honest on this. Might be related to the Aurora shooting. I really hope it's not.
Yeah.
But, oof. Anyway... So then James, the killer, was able to slip into the party and start shooting people dressed as a clown because he disguised himself to kind of fit in with the clown-themed party, basically.
Sure. Why?
Yeah. Why? Well, we will get to that. So then Jesse is calling out in his sleep. Sarah comes in to check on him, wakes him up, and Jesse silently hands her the newspaper clippings, and Sarah reads them and says, "Oh man, no wonder you're having nightmares. Back to the bar."
This poor child.
We don't cut back to the bar, my mistake. Abby comes home at that time, and Sarah goes to talk to her, and she starts drunkenly telling Sarah about how, oh, poor Bob, why do you have to be in the theater at that time? If I had come home, I would have been there to maybe stop him from going. Maybe he wouldn't have died. But he always did love horror movies. Apparently they were going to show a horror movie. That was the third event, was a horror film screening, I guess. So this Christmas birthday party was gun and constitutional rights lecture, clown-themed party, horror movie screening.
That's a collection of things you don't see very often.
Yes.
Bob's like not officially dead, right? Just missing.
Yeah, missing. Which assumed dead, I think, is what the newspaper clippings were saying. Although...
So the running theory is that this murderous clown came in to this birthday party
Bob.
and kidnapped Bob for reasons we don't.
After shooting everyone else in the theater except for Aurora,
I'm gonna kidnap this one person,
and then presumably murdered him within the last year sometime.
And they just kidnapped him for funsies. Do they know?
Danielle,
they have no idea why they kidnapped Bob.
We'll talk about James, the murderous clown, in a minute.
Super research this to be like, why would they kidnap just this one lawyer?
The police are never mentioned in this movie or involved in any way.
Fabulous.
This movie has no police, no detectives, and no therapists.
Love that.
It does have a lot of psychics, though.
That's all you need, really.
Apparently. So then there's some questionable acting as Sarah tries to sober Abby up with coffee. She tricks Abby to drinking coffee, which I think is supposed to be this whole comedy section to lighten things up. But then Abby breaks down crying, so it really swings the mood.
This movie's insane.
It's about to get more insane. I actually had to stop the movie after this next scene I started watching this yesterday. I had to stop. I'm done for this movie tonight. I can't handle this anymore. I had to come back to it today to finish it. Uh-huh. And so we cut to Paul Palace, the owner of the Palace Theaters, and his wife in a cabana, but it's dark. So it's a dark cabana, like in a tropical island or something.
Sure.
And the wife says, "What about his father, a certain criminal, a man responsible for many deaths?" Paul responds, "Why should he worry about letting his father go? He couldn't be expected to do everything, right?" And I know two things about the writer of this movie for sure now. He loves karate, and he has daddy issues.
Whose father are they talking about?
Well, a phone rings, and Paul is talking into the phone. The last sentence is said as he's answering the phone. And it's Jesse on the other end of that line saying, "I'll never let my father go. Mr. Palace, you are right and wrong in what you are saying. My father was not a criminal. He didn't kill anyone. There, you are wrong. But you are right in saying that I can't be loyal to everything at once. My loyalty is with my father only. And now, Mr. Palace, I need you to give me a totally correct lesson, a very private one."
Gross. But also, that's the 10-year-old talking.
Yes.
And also, I still think the running theory is that Bob is actually the murderer.
Yeah, also, to be clear, Palace is dead. Paul Palace and his wife are dead. They were killed in the theater shooting.
Yeah.
So this is Jesse calling them in heaven. I think is what it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be heaven. He's calling them in heaven.
Just a dark cabana. Is that what we're trying to say?
So, a creepy cabana.
Love that.
So after Jesse says, "I need you to give me a totally correct lesson, a very private one," Paul responds, "That's the only kind I do now." Which, what?
How do you write that line and not think this sounds inappropriate?
The person who wrote this is insane. Danielle is an alien. They're clearly an alien. Jesse states that Paul left his daughter just after giving her the theater, though he didn't intend to, and is in a beautiful place now. Jesse then says also that Aurora knows for sure where her father is, but he doesn't know where his father is. Paul tells him to focus, streamline it. Jesse reveals that James, the killer, was a security officer at his school, and also a security officer at the movie theater. So he and Aurora have a bond, though he doesn't know why James would want to take their fathers away from them. Paul tells him to focus on what he needs, and Jesse says he needs to defeat James. But how? Paul then asks, "Do you remember how I taught you to fight? Our creed?" And is Paul the one giving those karate lessons? What is happening?
This is by far the weirdest part. I don't understand what's going on at all.
This came out of left field. I expected a Christmas movie with kids doing Christmas things, maybe they fight off robbers, a Home Alone thing, or they win money to save their school or whatever, and a Christmas theme there, or the one you talked about, a woman goes back and finds a dojo and meets up with a hunky guy there or something. I did not expect karate, philosophy, death psychic stuff. Anyway, after he asks about, "Do you remember our creed?" Jesse is all, "We've never met." But, yeah. Yes, but I called you in heaven, so that works.
Do you remember our deep, meaningful creed?
He's like, "I never met you a day in my life." So Dana, now you understand why I had to write down verbatim what this movie was saying. I had to transcribe it because nothing I could say would describe this adequately.
Never met.
We've never met, but somehow I understand your creed, our creed. It's loyalty, unconditional loyalty to the ones we love.
Just nonsense. It's like they just picked lines out of a hat.
Paul snaps back, then live it! Modify your officer in every way you can, in every aspect of his life.
They act like this kid's much older than he is.
Yeah. He is very, old soul, precocious, whatever.
Yeah, clearly.
Jesse insists that the only way to modify James is by getting his black belt, and a powerful force is guiding him to it.
So I need to clarify.
Wait, finish the sentence, please.
Sorry, go ahead.
He says, my father was always my teacher, and I was his student. But now my father is my student. I must guide him home.
Okay.
Cut to Jesse waking up. End of scene.
So James is the clown murderer.
Who was the security officer at Jesse's school and the theater.
And they caught the clown murderer.
No.
But how do they know that's who the clown murderer is?
I don't know.
I'm just saying how many times I can say clown murderer in one go.
Maybe they did catch him, but they still haven't found the father. I don't know. We never learn. Danielle. Oh, Danielle. This is basically the last we hear about James and his motivations.
Okay. Sure.
No, literally, he barely comes up again in this movie.
Totally irrelevant, even though he was just identified as the person that he had to persevere over.
Yes, that never happens. They never meet James. James never comes back. He's not a character in this movie except on a screen in the visions.
Fabulous. All right.
There's no motive given for why he shot up this theater.
I just rolled my actual eyes in real life.
I know. You had more questions, or are we good?
I was just trying to clarify the James concept because they were talking about it like it was well known that James was the murderer, and that was unclear to me.
Oh no, they established it in the drunken thing when
Okay, I do not understand any of these visions, Sam. You're like talking and I hear you. But
I'd say the psychic had a vision with James in it, and she tells Abby, I had a vision with James in it, and she's like, James, the murderer? So they set it up a little bit.
I believe you.
But I'm sure it got lost amongst all the other stuff.
There were just so many other things.
Totally fair, Danielle, totally fair. So now we cut to Abby, presumably in her office. She looks forlornly at a photo of Bob she brought in. A coworker, or I think it's her boss, comes in and says, hey, Abby, so today, all applesauce, right? And Abby responds, yeah, I told you, it's the new Jell-O. Like, this is a normal human conversation that humans would have. It goes on with the guy saying, we meet in 5 at the Eisenhower conference room. Abby goes, I thought it was the Grant conference room. And the guy says, you're mixing up your generals who became presidents. Just don't mix up your applesauces, and leaves.
Hey.
The most human conversation I've ever seen in a movie. Clearly, humans wrote this movie. In walks Professor Psychic. Who let her into the building? I don't know, but she's there. And she's brought some awful Christmas decorations that her students gave her, and she's just foisting them off on Abby.
Nice.
Abby insists, we're not drinking buddies now. You didn't have to come here. And, Psychic, the professor is very put off. She's like, we're not friends? What are you talking about? But then goes you know what? You're right. You're the worst wing woman ever, and a total downer.
Yeah, how dare you be upset that your husband's been missing for a year?
Yeah,
and now
right?
It's the holidays. And your son's going through some kind of major trauma response.
Yeah, but no, you didn't get me laid, so screw you. Professor Psychic says she's had another vision, and Abby says she's been thinking about those visions and how they have been Bob on the day he disappeared, but nothing after that. Nothing to help her know if he's still alive. Lucky for her, Professor Psychic had a vision of where Bob would be on this very morning.
Sure.
And Abby is all, I think I made a mistake coming to you. She's like, I don't believe you anymore. And those visions, I need to accept that Bob is not coming back. I need to help Jesse accept that. And Abby then leaves to go to her meeting. But the Professor Psychic just keeps following her, silently follows her on the hallway, just walks behind her. Actually gets to the elevator, but it doesn't come fast enough. So she takes the stairs. And in the stairwell, that's where Professor Psychic starts going off about, you want to know why I really quit being a psychic? Abby starts to run from her. And she gets to the Grant conference room, the wrong conference room. It's supposed to be the Eisenhower conference room. How could she mix it up? We literally just talked about this.
Well, she got sidetracked by a psychic who was not going to be involved in this, if I remember correctly from earlier in the story.
She did not want to, but she's involved now.
You wouldn't listen to the psychic who's like, hey, I know where your husband is from this morning?
Yep. She's nope, I don't want to hear anything about
to see what she said.
She's like, I want to be done with this. You've given me nothing helpful so far. I just want to end this and try to move on, except that I don't want more false hope, basically, is what she's going off about.
It doesn't sound like they've had any false hope prior to this. They just thought Bob was dead. This is the first false hope.
So then Abby runs off to the Eisenhower room, but as she's running, Professor Psychic blurts out, "I saw my fiance die." And she goes off about how she had a vision about how she would marry her fiance, then he would die eventually. And so she gave him up because she loved him too much to see him die. And she hoped that if she dumped him, maybe he wouldn't die. It would change the story or whatever.
Did it?
Well, she doesn't know because the last she ever saw of him, he was very upset with her, didn't want anything to do with her after that.
And she never had another psychic vision about him ever again?
Apparently not, because that's when she threw herself into law school trying to leave behind all the psychic stuff.
What if the reason why he died was because she broke up with him?
No, because she saw him get married before he died. Like, that was part of the vision was they get married and then he dies.
That feels like you're messing with something.
Yeah. Also, like, was it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later? Who knows? She's like, that doesn't matter. Like, maybe he died of old age and she was there watching him.
Well, I assume he must have looked relatively young or she wouldn't have been as upset about it.
I know, Danielle, but there's so little information. We have to make guesses. So Abby is all, "I'm sorry about that, but I have to get to that meeting." And then the Professor Psychic yells, "You really want to give up your husband for some stupid bonus?" This upsets Abby, who tells her to take it back. But Professor Psychic says she can't take it back. She can't take back what she sees. And Abby is losing her own son. Abby asks, why is she doing this to her today? Today of all days. And Professor Psychic is all, "Maybe you're Scrooge and I'm your ghosts. Yesterday was Christmas past and today it's Christmas present."
Okay.
That convinces Abby, who agrees to go with Professor Psychic back to a gazebo at the college where Professor Psychic teaches, where there's a nativity set up, and it keeps like flashing to a vision of Bob wandering around the area and then praying at the nativity. Do people do that? Do people pray at nativity sets?
I've certainly never seen anybody do that, but
okay.
I may not be the demographic for that question.
That's fair.
The most nativities I've seen are like in movies.
Yeah, exactly. Or like tiny ones on people's tables or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know if people pray to them, but what is Bob doing?
Who knows? It's just flashing him wandering around this field.
Are they religious? Do they go to church?
Never once in this movie.
Maybe they're holiday Christians.
Yeah, probably. Or maybe Bob is like the real Christian, and Abby
because
is the
better
last
person,
one.
quote unquote.
Exactly. Nailed it.
Because he's a saint, literally.
Yeah, he's literally meant to be the perfect human being.
Or possibly cloud murderer.
Or he's Jesus. And that's why he disappeared. He ascended. And Abby is all, why would Bob be here? And the Professor Psychic says that the spirits brought us here. Why not Bob? But they haven't seen him yet. But she's sure Bob was here, standing at a Christmas tree that's also there in the field, tired, the day before the shooting with a group of people feeling pride and accomplishment. So her vision about Bob being there today, like, I know where Bob's going to be today. No. Wrong. You knew where Bob was a year ago.
Then why did she say today?
Because she was lying or wrong or something.
It doesn't make any sense. Make this movie make sense.
Danielle, if I had that power, I would have more power than any human being on the planet. So she goes on that Bob wanted to tell Abby something about this place, but Abby was late getting home. She's always late, always working, and Abby should have made the time like Bob managed to do.
Bob, like, apparently has the power to, like, create and, like, suspend time and to lengthen time to be able to do this many things.
Amazing.
Again, Jesus.
And then Professor Psychic's like, you know what? I'm cold. I'm going to go sit in the car and stay warm, and leaves. Abby is ticked off. She's like, that's it? You dragged me out here to go sit in the car because you're cold? You said my husband was supposed to be here.
That's fair. She probably wouldn't believe her after that.
But then Abby sees a plaque on the ground that says, this gazebo was built with hard work and great dedication by Bob Genesis. Yes, their name is Genesis.
Is this a religious film?
No. Maybe? I don't know. Jesus, God, never brought up. Professor Psychic is like, that's great, and then goes to sit in Abby's car to heat up. While they're in the car heating up, she has another vision. And he's like, no, not now. Abby's going to go back to work. She doesn't want this. And Abby's like, no, I'm on board. I followed you here. I'm with you. Let's see where these visions go.
So this plaque, like, absolutely convinced her.
Yeah, or something.
So her husband has now built a gazebo.
On this college campus for some reason.
College campus. He has worked at a soup kitchen for free.
No, given free legal advice. Right. And yes, help. He also did work at the soup kitchen. But he did also dish out soup, to be clear.
And what was the third thing?
Taught a women's self-defense class.
That's right, with knives. How could I forget?
Yeah, and it was a black belt. Don't forget the black belt part.
Belt. Man, this guy had a lot of time.
And used to paint birdhouses with Jesse.
Are we sure that he actually had a law job? Is this just maybe his daily existence? Like maybe he's made enough money as a lawyer. His wife's super rich. So he really is a lawyer, but or maybe he's just really smart and has read a lot of law books. And he's like floating around helping people all day. Maybe this is his job. That would explain where he has all his time.
He's like the one benevolent, wealthy person in the world.
Yeah.
The one person like, I've made enough money. I don't need to make more. Let me help people for a change.
He doesn't actually work at a law firm. He just like floats around and helps people.
It's certainly possible, but at this point, I don't know.
I'm willing to go with it.
So we smash cut to Jesse, kicking the air in the living room, yelling, "Hiya!" He then like gets up on the couch and starts like wailing, like kicking the couch cushion, the back of the couch.
Working on that brown belt.
Yeah, well, basically, he does some push-ups. And then we cut to Abby painting that birdhouse and lamenting how terrible she is at it.
She then painting his birdhouse?
Yep, without him.
What?
The thing they would do together with his father. She's like, I'm just going to do it. And then
did he give her permission?
Jesse. He's not talking, Danielle. He can't say no.
She could have asked and he could have shook his head.
So she calls in Jesse and says, come look at my birdhouse. That's terrible. And Jesse gives her a big hug, is very proud of her for doing it.
That's good, I guess. You think you'd be kind of upset that somebody took the birdhouse you were saving to paint with your father coming back on Christmas and did it without
with the mother.
You. Yeah.
Because he also said, like the thing we're going to do together, she just does it without you. And he gestures for her to follow him, and he takes her to the next room with the Christmas tree, which has all the different karate belts wrapped around it like tinsel, like white at the bottom, then yellow, like all the ones he's earned so far.
That's kind of fun.
And he's wearing a red belt now, so he's got up to red belt. And he gestures at the purple belt. I was like, oh, you've earned a lot of belts. And then he takes off the red belt and hangs on the tree because I guess he's now earned the brown belt by kicking the couch a bunch.
Is he choose? Like, is this we have to assume. We have to assume.
This is my exact question. Is Jesse just like giving himself the belts and calling it a day?
Like, because he's 10 and he's just like, I am earning belts.
He just like spends like 10 minutes kicking a couch and does a few push-ups like, yep, that's the next belt, done it.
That's when you had kids. That's 100% what's going on. It's very funny.
It's exactly what's happening. And my thought is, couldn't he just like give himself the black belt and be done? Like, yeah, I got I skipped all the other belts.
No, because he has to earn it because that's how you get his father home.
Great. Yeah, I guess so.
There's
anyway,
a whole plot line he's following, Sam. He's got like an internal monologue going.
I think he's just like, he goes to like his karate practice lesson. He pins a kid, goes home and says, got another belt. Then he like kicks the couch for a while. I was like, yep, that's another belt. I told that couch who's boss. This movie's insane.
Because aren't belts given to you like at the dojo or the gym or wherever you are?
Like
you test it and they give it to you. It's like a little ceremony. Congratulations, you made your next little belt.
Nope, he just like gets the belt. It's like the ending is amazing. You're gonna love it.
Okay, carry on.
Anyway, he's up to his brown belt now, so good for him.
No wonder why he's getting them in 6 days.
Yeah, I know. He has one more to go.
I could get a black belt in 6 days.
If I did that, yeah, like I could buy a black belt and just give it myself now.
Merry Christmas to me. Karate.
That's right. Get ready, world. Danielle's got the karate chops. That's a pun.
Oh, gosh.
Karate chops? Yeah.
Yay.
Right. Back in her office, Abby is confronted about missing the meeting. Her boss is like very ticked off that she just left and abandoned that meeting in the middle of the day without telling anyone.
He didn't even say, I have a family emergency, gotta go.
Right. Abby's all, look, my work was in there and the client is happy and Janice handled the whole presentation. So who cares? It's a rough time. It's Christmas. Who else lost their husband on Christmas?
Gonna use that as much as possible.
Yeah. And their boss always like, it's a rough time for a lot of people. Like, this is Christmas Eve, to be clear, because he's got the brown belt. And so she's working on Christmas Eve, and he's still like, you're not working hard enough. I'm like, dude, she's at the office on Christmas Eve. Like, back off.
She's super rich. She should quit, and she should go around helping people in the community. Maybe she could build a gazebo.
Well, I think that's sort of the point. Yes. And so the boss was like, you know what? It's a rough time for a lot of people. And you're the most work-first person I know. And she's like, you're right. Do you ever feel like you missed out on something like life? Smash cut to rock music and the dojo. Jesse is inside with the same like 3 people wrestling the other kid. Sarah is there. The ref calls the match and tells them to shake hands. Cut to Professor Psychic going, so, Frosty the Snowman has completely had it by now because of all the salt and sand and soot. And she goes on about how, like, miserable Frosty is and how he's melting. And who is she talking to, Danielle? I don't know.
One student.
Well, it's way weirder than that, Danielle.
Reindeer.
It is Christmas Eve. But she goes on about how salt and sand is hazardous to Frosty. It's like a hazardous waste to Frosty. But salt and sand are good for the community. So does Frosty have a valid lawsuit?
Is she talking to the snowplow driver?
Crazier. Abby busts into the Professor Psychic's office. As we see, Professor Psychic is sitting in front of a laptop giving like an online class, an online lecture on Christmas Eve day from her desk.
As one does.
Abby says she needs some advice on Christmas future. And who are you lecturing anyway on Christmas Eve day? We cut to the other side. We see what's on. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. We see what's on Professor Psychic's screen. She says she's lecturing to North Sentinel Island, which is an island off of India, you know, where they shoot people with bows and arrows, which feels racist. It's very racist. She says a lot of kind of like racist things about like how the people there don't have democracy and like they don't have access to them. It's like they don't have law. They don't know anything about law or anything.
But they somehow have Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. So it feels this is not a good look for this movie. And the craziest part is on the screen is not a Zoom call or even like a lecture hall or something of students. It's clearly just like a video of a bunch of kids having a snowball fight or something. Uh-huh. You know how much snow they have in like the Indian subcontinent area?
Yeah, well-known area for snowfall.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a sandball fight?
Or something. I don't know. Abby slams the laptop closed, like hanging up the call on her. Professor Psychic is very upset, saying, "Why'd you do that for? I'm trying to teach them international law." And isn't that like very different from what she knows about New Jersey law?
I would imagine so. Why is she an expert in all laws?
Right. And how is Frosty the Snowman story about like, hey, if sand and soot is hazardous to Frosty, but good for the community, does he have a valid lawsuit? How is that international law?
Frosty's universal, Sam.
Okay, sorry. Abby says, "You started this with me, now you have to finish it." Then Professor Psychic has a vision of James ranting about going down the wrong path. He points his gun at the screen, and then holding it, he says, "Remind me of what you've taught me." And we cut back from the vision, and Professor Psychic is all, "What did he teach me? What did James teach me?" And didn't he say it's what, like, she taught him or something? I don't know. But that apparently convinces Professor Psychic to forget about her lecture and go help Abby.
This woman's very conflicted.
Yep. We then cut to more crazy visions. We see Bob saying, "You're stronger than all of us put together." Paul saying, "Aurora, Daddy's little girl, I need you to figure this out." Aurora screams to, "Help me, help you." And then Paul says, "You must watch for yourself, Aurora. You must all watch for yourselves." And there are some people there standing around Aurora now. It then goes on like that until we see Aurora waking up. Bob standing over her goes, "Aurora, you woke up." And then the vision ends and we're back with Professor Psychic again and Abby. And she relays this whole vision to Abby, asking if Aurora was in the hospital after the shooting. And then how was Bob there with Aurora? Did you see her wake up or whatever? But Abby's like, no, Bob wasn't there. Bob disappeared right after the shooting. But then Professor Psychic insists that the hospital vision means that Bob is alive. And they need to go back to that bar. Christmas Future is there at that same bar we were at earlier.
Dun dun dun. I feel like...
How you holding up, Danielle?
I feel like this movie would be like 50% less weird if they got rid of the visions or made them more streamlined. They're like... The visions are so vastly different from the rest of the tone of this film.
Such a total shift.
That just makes everything seem disconnected and crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. Cut to the bar. So they had to go to the bar. Apparently, that's the answer to everything. That
Absolutely.
Same bar. The camera conspicuously lingers on the side of the bar, which is the front porch bar and grill. Clearly, that's how they got to use the space for their shooting.
They're like, will you let us use this bar?
If you give us some product placement, absolutely. Abby and the Professor Psychic are sitting at the bar. Abby is lamenting that she should be home with Jesse. It's Christmas Eve, even though Professor Psychic promised her Christmas future was here. The camera zooms in on a man at the other end of the bar, and Professor Psychic sees him and says, "It might have been my Christmas future, not yours." And she goes over to the man. She knows him. It's Mark, her ex-fiance.
Oh.
He's there with his wife. He's alive, much to Professor Psychic's surprise, and is all, "Of course I'm alive. You upset me, but you didn't kill me."
Hey.
Mark and his wife leave, saying they need to get home to their son, like, after a very awkward interaction.
Which also, like, their kids just... Like, why are all these parents, like, hanging out in a bar when their kids are at home on Christmas Eve?
This bar is packed on Christmas Eve, and why are all these people like, my kid sucks, let me go to a bar?
Like, obvious, like, do whatever you want, but, like, I could see, like, older couples, because not people without children, people don't celebrate Christmas, whatever, like, being at a bar on Christmas Eve, it's celebratory, but, like, not when you have tiny children at home. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, seriously, what is the point of that? So Professor Psychic is very upset when they leave, but Abby's all, hey, it's your ex-fiance. He's alive. That's great news. And Professor Psychic storms off saying, not for you, and then goes off about how she always saw Mark was dead and Bob was alive. But if Mark's alive, it means Bob is probably dead because all her visions are opposite day, I guess.
She's mixing up two different human beings.
No, she just means like, if someone's alive, it means they're dead. If someone's dead, it means they're alive. She just gets it backwards.
But the whole reason she broke up with her ex-fiance to begin with was because she thought it might make him survive. Now she's like pissed off that he survived.
Yeah. I don't know. I do not know,
it worked
Danielle.
exactly how she thought it should.
This devastates Abby, but then she hears what sounds like Bob's voice. They rush off to the men's room and pound on until some guy comes out going, what, is the woman's room occupied?
That poor guy.
Then they return to the bar dejected, and Professor Psychic apologizes. Her visions aren't perfect, and maybe she's seen all the good things Bob did. Maybe Bob wanted her to know those things, and to know that Bob's okay wherever he is and watching over them. And Abby's all, what you've done for Jesse and me is wonderful. Bob isn't coming back. I know that now, but he's left us with his love, and you helped me realize that, and that my life with Jesse is more important than anything else. Jesse is more important to Bob than anything else. And Professor Psychic is all, I'm so happy you see that, and you are a good mom. Spoiler,
she's not a good mom. Maybe Bob worked at this bar too.
So what would be amazing though, if this movie is like, yeah, Bob's actually dead, and the real lesson is you have to learn to work through your grief and accept that. I mean, that'd be a pretty cool, like, Christmassy kind of ending, right? About like love and acceptance.
The psychics, which
so
is
that's
a little
what I'm hoping
weird.
for. But yeah, but the basic idea is like, hey, sometimes tragedy happens, but you have to remember the joy, the good things, and the good parts of people's lives and how they impacted you in positive ways, instead of focusing on the negative and just wanting them back.
Spoiler, that's not what happens.
I mean, it might be, actually.
Is it?
It might be something even crazier. Abby then invents Professor Psychic to join them for Christmas dinner, but Professor Psychic declines because she actually has a family visiting, so she's going to, have dinner with them.
Is Jesse dead and, like, she's having visions of him?
Like a Sixth Sense kind of thing?
Like, she thinks that he's alive. She's like, she lost her husband and her child during this drama, and she's just, like,
amazing.
Disassociating.
Yeah, I can't believe you figured out the name of this movie. I can't believe you cracked it. That's unfair. I wanted to be a surprise. So then Abby asks if Professor Psychic can at least stop by tomorrow afternoon when Jesse is scheduled to get his self-taught black belt.
So
which,
funny.
Very important ceremony.
He's going to bow to himself. Give himself the black belt.
And this was a little weird because I thought the word was self-taught. I looked in the subtitles and it said self-draught or drought black belt.
Probably not what it meant.
Or draft, like I don't know. So I don't know if there was a typo in the subtitles or this is a word I don't understand in this context. So I went with self-taught because that made sense to me. Also, Professor Psychic has never met Jesse more than once when he barged into her classroom. So I guess she has a real big connection to him.
Well, yeah, they're both psychics.
But she agrees. They tearfully wish each other a Merry Christmas and leave. Cut to Abby, her parents, and Professor Psychic sitting around the table discussing how impressive it is to have Jesse put in so much energy and work on this project. Jesse, meanwhile, is doing push-ups on the floor. He gestures everyone over. He's ready to earn his black belt. I thought the story was going to
follow Jesse, and it's actually following the mother quite heavily.
For a movie called A Karate Christmas Miracle, there's very little karate in this.
I know,
there's almost no
disappointed.
Karate. So he gestures everyone over. He's ready to earn his black belt. Abby says, when you break this board, hold up a plank of wood, you'll speak.
So he really is just giving himself his own thing.
Yes.
This is actually established canon.
So in his final black belt test is to break a board at home in his dining room. And he's like, that's a black belt.
I need to know if the show really thinks that he's getting his black belt, or if this is like, yeah, we know this kid's just giving himself his own belts.
They're humoring him?
Yeah, like I need to know what the movie's trying to portray.
The mom, as far as I know, the mom doesn't understand anything about karate. So I guess for all she knows, this is how it works.
Is the movie, like, at all, like, being silly about this? Like, aware that the kid is doing the... Okay, great.
It never addresses who's giving him his belt. He just does something, and then later he has a different belt on. Like, it never... how he gets the new belt is never addressed once until the very end of the movie.
Great.
So they all argue over, like, who's going to hold it. Like, the grandfather's like, a man should hold the board because it's you can have a strong grip. And the grandmother's like, a woman can hold the board just as well. And Abby's like, no, I'm his mother. I'll hold the board. So she kneels down and holds the board.
She's got a whole family at home, and she's out at the bar hanging out with Professor Psychic.
That was earlier. That was like hours earlier, before Christmas Day. No, that was yesterday, Danielle. That was yesterday. This is Christmas Day.
Time has no meaning in this show.
This is the next day. Movie, please. So she kneels down with the board in front of her face, which is a bad idea. I think it's a bad place to put a board somebody's going to try to break.
Agreed.
And tells Jesse, so you're supposed to do this in one hit? Give it your best shot. And like, okay, cool. So Jesse winds back and then slow-mo drops an elbow on the board, breaking it. And I'm like, wait a minute. He doesn't even do the hard part of like punching through the board or like chopping it. He drops an elbow, like he jumps up and like slams an elbow through the board. I could do that.
I'm
like,
also
that's not,
like 99.9% sure that is not how you get a black belt.
I'd be probably, but like, I'm not a karate man. I'm not even a very strong man, but I feel like I could break a pretty thin piece of wood with my elbow, like by putting on my weight and dropping on it.
Sure.
So I think you could do that. I'm not impressed is what I'm saying.
Me is 10.
He is, again, good for him. I'm glad he's having fun, but like, this feels very like, oh, just give him the belt, you know? So everyone is super impressed, and they're all clapping, and as they're clapping and cheering, the sliding door to the dining room opens, and through the vertical blinds, a man steps in. It's Bob. He's back.
What is happening in this movie?
Jesse runs to him and says, "You escaped! I knew you would!" And Bob says, "Yes, I did! I escaped!"
You know what? The mom is in a coma, and this is like all in her brain.
As she's dying. This is her last vision.
This is like a snow globe scenario or something. Like it's a whole alternate reality. It's the only thing that makes sense.
We're not done. Professor Psychic is all, well, okay, I guess I was right on target. They all hug Bob, and then Bob goes over to the black belt that's just sitting on a table, like next, like a little side table, and picks up and says to Jesse, "You did this for me, didn't you?" And Jesse says, "I did, so that you would come home." He then puts the belt on Jesse, saying, "You're a black belt, Jesse. You're a black belt. You earned it."
And
they all hug some more. And they all hug some more as Abby cries, "It's a miracle. It's a true Christmas miracle." Cut to the credits as Carol of the Bell plays again.
No.
The end.
I hate it so much.
Where
did Bob come from?
Apparently he escaped from the psychic torture chamber. So why weren't we following Bob as he tries to escape the serial killer's psychic torture?
No. Who wrote
trap?
this? Who thought this was a movie they should write?
This movie's like,
you should give a trigger warning prior to this that like the ending is you're not going to have any of your answers for any of the questions you have.
You know that whole thing about Aurora and her father and how like she was the only survivor?
Who cares?
No, that mattered. Who cares? Not irrelevant. They're like, oh, we're bonded because James
like
took both our fathers from us.
Part at the end, like there was like 15 minutes of movie. They're just like, you know what? This explains everything, but I think we're going to take it out. We're running short on time.
You know how like James was both a security guard at the theater and the school, and how why he did all this, and not relevant. It doesn't matter.
I hate it so much. I can't tell you how much I hate that ending.
you know Paul Palace, how he gave the theater to his daughter on her birthday. Now she had this crazy 3-tiered birthday party.
Doesn't matter.
Not relevant.
What do the clowns have to do with anything? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Why is there a whole murder mystery with no like denouement? Right? Like, what are we doing?
Here's how you fix this movie in 2 sentences. You make Bob like a sailor or like a pilot who's gone missing at sea or whatever, right?
Sure, that he stumbles in, problem solved.
Right. So he stumbles in later. There's lost at sea, or he's lost, in the mountains, whatever, or a hiker who went missing, something, right? And you spend all the time you spent on the psychic visions with Jesse doing karate. Because apparently the kid, the actor, is an actual karate blue belt when they filmed the movie. So he's got karate skills, I'm sure. We never get to see them because the movie spends no time on karate.
I think it would have made more sense if they're going to go with the psychic thing and the dad is supposedly a hiker, whatever, sailor gone missing, that the kid would have psychic visions of his dad, like, in those elements trying to survive. And then the end of the movie would make sense because you've seen part of the struggle that Bob has had.
But how does the black belt tie into it? I still don't know that part.
I don't know. It could just be the kid's like, I'm going to get my black belt because then dad will come in because dad was a black belt. Like, it's just it's just the trauma response.
And like his mom knows about it. So like, yes, she's supporting her son getting his black belt to like honor her father.
Exactly.
His father. Yeah.
But the kid thinks that it's going to make the dad come back somehow.
Yeah. And the mother gets him therapy because she's a good mother.
There it is. It's a great movie. Why are we not doing this movie? What is going on with the weird murder clowns? And like, why? And where was the dad? I hate mysteries that aren't solved.
Like, the dad's like, it'd be such a better movie if we followed the dad, like, through, like, he's in this serial killer dungeon, right? You know, he's trying to break his way out, and he has to use his sweet karate skills to escape the serial killer dungeon.
So many
questions.
And
meanwhile, we're paralleling his son, who's also learning karate skills.
Another
and, like,
great plot.
linked to his father, and it's like he's learning the skills his father uses them to, like, and his father's like, I'm using my son, I'm giving him messages to come help me and like, do things that help me escape. But no.
People should hire us to rewrite their stupid movies.
You really hated this one, didn't you?
I'm really mad that they don't resolve where he's been. He just, like, appears.
He just randomly walks in the second Jesse gets his black belt.
That's what makes me mad.
James, the serial killer, his whole deal, we spend so much time on the backstory of, like, the mom and the psychic. None on the serial killer who shoots up the theater is like the main catalyst. Like, who that guy is, why he was such a monster, how that has to deal, like, what the father was doing, giving a lecture at a movie theater on a birthday party thing, like, all of that. Why was Paul Palace, like, so weird in the psychic visions?
I don't understand why you would set so many things up and not do anything
resolve
with
none of them.
Yeah, that is bizarre to me. Like, what kind of crazy storytelling is that? Why even bother?
Literally nothing in this movie mattered because Bob was going to walk through that door regardless. Like, the psychic visions didn't lead them to help him. Nothing they did had any impact on Bob's journey home. He just shows up. So if they literally sat there for the 90 minutes of this movie doing nothing, it would be the same ending. Same outcome.
I will give the movie tons of credit for letting the child get its own black belt somehow, magically.
Yeah. I mean, Jesse's story is the best part of this. You know, like him just like having a great time doing sweet karate kicks on the couch and giving himself a black belt.
He's like, I'm great.
That's
I
me.
deserve
Be,
this
like,
belt.
I would identify. Like as a 10-year-old, like, yeah, give myself all the award. I'm the best. I'm like the super cool. Like, most relatable character, best actor in the movie, maybe. Hard to say. Loved him.
So frustrating.
So there you go, Danielle. A karate
No,
Christmas
I'm mad about it, and I'm going to take it away from my memory and never think about it again.
You should watch it, Danielle. I cannot explain.
No, but it makes me so mad.
I cannot explain to you how, like, completely upset I was when I started watching this. Like, okay, Christmas movie, kid is sad, his dad's missing or gone or dead or something, or divorced. Maybe their parents got split up and he's trying to get them back together, and he's hoping that if he can get a black belt, it'll, you know, make his family whole. This could be like a very sweet kind of Christmas story, right? Cut to psychic vision of serial killer on screen. I'm like, oh, it was not going where I thought it was going. that when I first saw that, I was so shocked. I had to pause. This is why I had to put this movie down for a day. I'm like, this movie's making me feel ill. It's so like all over the place. I can't handle how crazy it is.
God.
It's like Silence of the Lambs meets A Christmas Story with none of the explanation for the serial killer.
Well, thank you for bringing this to us. I'm not sure I feel about it, to be honest.
Well, get ready for next year, Danielle, because I just found out the same cast is in a sequel.
Does it explain what happened to Bob?
It's not a sequel, Danielle. It's called A Wrestling Christmas Miracle. It's all the same cast, pretty much.
But the wife disappears?
Unrelated entirely to the... entirely unrelated to the previous movie. Same actors, same kid, same, like, dad character, maybe a different mom.
Is this just like a family movie production?
I mean, Gilbert Gottfried's in it, apparently, so...
What is his life?
So, dibs, I'm doing that one.
Yeah, you can have it. It's cool.
But you're going to have to listen through it next year.
Oh, God.
Anyway, there you go. Karate Christmas Miracle. Did not do anything I thought. I mean, props to the movie for blindsiding me at almost every turn. I predicted nothing in that movie except for the fact that karate would be a theme. Everything else, complete surprise. Absolutely delighted. Cannot recommend it highly enough. Watch it with your family. Put it on for grandma. Say, Grandma, I've got a sweet Christmas movie for you. It's about serial killers.
Oh, gosh. Well, good job finding weird holiday media as we are supposed to, I guess.
As is the mission statement of this podcast.
You got it. Book retorts.
Nailed it in one. Holiday Bazaar. Living up to the name. All right. Well, if you out there have any explanations for a Karate Christmas Miracle, please write in. We need all the help we can. If you can explain where Bob was or anything about James, please send us a message at bookretorts.com.
You can also Instagram or Facebook us at Book Retorts.
And if you want to help fund our production company where we just rewrite movies to make them better movies, maybe, or at least better for our perspective, you can fund Sam and Danielle Productions at patreon.com/bookretorts.
You certainly can. There was something earlier in the episode, too, where I thought we should do that as a Patreon, but now it's not coming to me.
Oh, yeah, there's another venue we could do. Maybe Psychic Visions or something. We could do psychic readings. A psychic fair?
Quite possibly.
Okay, well, you remember.
I mean, I think there's probably a psychic fair locally, to be honest.
Where you live, yeah.
That feels true.
Nothing's felt more true, Danielle. But yeah, well, maybe you can send a post about it later and you can give people yet another reason to donate to us if they feel so inclined.
Absolutely.
Well, until next time, hey, it's pretty easy to get a black belt apparently, so go for it.
I am on it. What is this? We have 20 days before Christmas Eve. I feel like I can do it. I can do this.
Yeah, I believe in you. You're only starting one belt behind Jesse from this movie.
That's
so
true,
you're good
and I
to
have
go.
some mild past experience.
Yeah, you're more than me, so I think you got this. I'll be your support network. I'll hold the board for you when you get your black belt.
Will you? Hold you to that.
Excellent.
Be here in 20 days.
You got it. On it. I booked my ticket. I expect you to have that black belt ready.
I can definitely break a board in half.
I think you could. If you use your elbow and all your weight.
To be honest, I don't even think I need to study for my black belt between now and then. I think I could just do it.
I think you break a relatively thin piece of like a 1/4-inch piece of plywood in half with an elbow drop. I think you got this or whatever.
Yeah. I'm feeling good about this.
Whatever softwood they use. I don't know. Well, anyway, until then, bye.
Take care, everybody.
You're so mad about the movie, aren't you?
A little bit, yeah. It's just such an abrupt ending, and I dislike that.
The whole thing about, she's like, I have to defeat James. You didn't have to defeat James. All the advice Paul gave you about, like, streamline, focus in.
Why? What are any of the visions? Like, what do they mean?
Nothing.
What's the point?
Nothing. There's no point, Danielle.
They're so pointless.
This was a waste of my time and yours. That's all. This movie was designed to waste our lives.
There wasn't like not even like a throwaway line or something.
I take it back. This movie didn't waste time. I had a lot of fun, so maybe it wasted your time, but I'm okay with that.